The Sphinx and the history of the Israelites. Lovers of knowledge and people of the sun, I need you to pay absolute attention to this knowledge because you're going to learn a lot. Another thing I want you to understand here is that even artificial intelligence and Google will never tell you this knowledge I want to pass on to you today, because they are nothing else but mere engines created and constructed by our former colonial masters to deny Africans of their true history. That is why you can never see the true history of African people in artificial intelligence and in Google. Therefore, I need you to pay absolute attention and share this knowledge to go viral. You see, the Sphinx, this monument you're seeing on your screen, is dated to have existed since around 7,000 years ago. The mystery behind it has remained mind-blowing. The Sphinx is located at Giza in Egypt. According to the great African historian from Senegal, late Sheikh Anta Diop, the Sphinx is the face of a very black woman from Nubia. In fact, the first Africans to start the Egyptian civilization were the Nubians, which is present-day Sudan. Some historians strongly believed that it is the face of a Yoruba woman from West Africa, but this assertion is still debatable among historians. According to another great African historian named Kabakameni, the Sphinx is not a man, but the face of a very black woman and the body of a lioness. We must understand that the Egyptian civilization was an African black civilization, which was built by Africans who came from different parts of Africa along the Nile Valley. It is very imperative and vital to know that the three great pyramids at Giza were built to complement the Sphinx that have been in existence for thousands of years. In fact, the three great pyramids of Giza, which are Khufu, Kaffa, and Menkaure, that is father, son, and grandson, were built in direct alignment with the three stars of Orion Belt, which simply means that the African Egyptians were so deep in astronomy that they built pyramids just to track the movement of the stars. We have to understand that the missing pages of world history are the missing pages of African history. We have been lied to for thousands of years. We have been lied to that it was Napoleon Bonaparte who destroyed the nose of the Sphinx. This is one of the greatest lies told in human history. When Napoleon Bonaparte, the French military general, came to Egypt in 1798 with 167 scientists and technicians to study the sciences of the ancient Egyptians, he never destroyed the nose of the Sphinx. Instead, he was bewildered, flabbergasted, and astonished of the great civilization of the African Egyptians. It was the Arabs who destroyed the nose of the Sphinx. In the year 1378, an Arab Muslim named Mohammed Sam Adia blew up the nose of the Sphinx when he saw some African Egyptians paying homage and worshipping the great Sphinx. He was bittered and irritated by their submission to the Sphinx. He saw their veneration of the Sphinx as paganism and compelled them to be Muslims, which simply means that the nose of the Sphinx was already destroyed before Napoleon Bonaparte came to Egypt in 1798. The civilization of Egypt has been confirmed to be rooted in blackness. According to Diodorus Siculus in 60 BCE, a Greek European historian, he asserted that the African Egyptians were Ethiopians sent out as colonialists, while Osiris was the leader of the colony. Herodotus, another Greek historian and the father of Western history, opined in the year 450 BCE that the native Egyptians were very black and melanated with woolly hair. In fact, the name Egypt was not the original name the natives called themselves. It was called Kemet, which, when translated, simply means the land of the blacks. This was thousands of years ago, before the Arabs, who are now claiming to be the owners of the land today, invaded Egypt around the 7th century AD, precisely around December 639 AD to 641 AD. In fact, Before the Arab invasion of Egypt, the native Egyptians were first invaded by the Hyksos from Asia around 1675 BCE during the Egyptian 13th dynasty, and they ruled a part of Egypt for 108 years. They were the first invaders who came to Africa. Later, Egypt was invaded by the Greeks under Alexander the Great in 332 BCE, and they ruled Egypt for 300 years. It was also invaded by the Romans in 30 BCE, and they ruled Egypt for 600 years. You can see that the land of the blacks has been invaded. The fact is that Egypt has been invaded for its riches and wealth. It was during the Hyksos rule of Egypt, when they invaded in 1675 BCE, that the people we call Israelites came to Egypt. The misconception that the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt needed to be addressed immediately in order to save the next generation of Africans from this hocus pocus and mendacious mendacity. The people you call Israelites or Hebrews were in fact not enslaved in Egypt or in any part of Africa. They ran away from the land of Canaan, where they were enslaved and persecuted by a people known as the Hittites. Abraham, that is believed to be the first Israelite, was not born until 1700 BCE in a city in Sumeria. In fact, there is enough evidence to prove that the original Israelites were very black or dark brown, because Abraham was very dark brown, born in Sumeria. I will explain. The founder of Sumer, which is Sumeria, was a very black man named Nimrod. And Nimrod was born in Kush, which is present-day Sudan and Ethiopia, which simply means that the oldest or the earliest people living in Sumeria were very black, melanated, and dark brown. And Abraham was believed to be part of them. Now, Abraham and his people migrated from Sumeria to the land of Canaan, which is present-day Israel. There, they were enslaved and persecuted by the Hittites. It was this moment they migrated to the continent of Africa, to places like Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. When they came, they had nothing, no official language, no official religion, and they were not well educated. During this time was the 13th Egyptian dynasty, and all the pyramids were built from the 3rd, 4th to the 5th dynasty, and no Israelite or Jew came to Egypt until the 13th Egyptian dynasty, which is around 1600 BCE. And when they came, they were embraced and accepted by the Africans. They were given accommodation, food, and shelter, and were educated in the mystery schools of our African ancestors. In fact, during this time, the book of Genesis have not been written. There was no story of Adam and Eve. No one is known as Moses. No one is known as Cain or Abel. And there was no God known as Yahweh or Jesus. Now, after they completed their education in Africa, they left Africa around 700 BCE with a population of 600,000, with a language known today as Hebrew, and with a religion known today as Judaism. All of it they got from Africa. The 10 commandments they claimed was given to them by their God was in fact copied from what is called the 42 negative confessions of Mahat. And Mahat was the nature for justice, law and order and balance. They had no God to worship, no Yahweh and no Jesus. Therefore, the first God they worshipped was a very black woman known as Hathor or Het Heru. This black woman was represented with the face of a cow or a bull. Her temple is still standing today in a place in Egypt known as Dendara. There you will see 3,500 sculptures of her face. They took the worship of this black woman and worshipped her as the golden calf. Did you know that the first book they wrote was not the book of Genesis, but the book of Exodus, where they lied to the world that they were enslaved by our African ancestors in Egypt? Meanwhile, there is no record anywhere in ancient Egypt that these people known as the Israelites or Hebrews were enslaved in Egypt or in any part of Africa. Rather, there are facts in world history showing that they were enslaved by the Hittites in the land of Canaan, which is present-day Israel. Their Moses in their Bible never existed, historically speaking. They invented the character known as Moses, a character copied from an Egyptian pharaoh named Pharaoh Akhenaten of the 18th dynasty. Akhenaten was the first human being on earth to introduce the concept of monotheism, which is the belief in one God, as opposed to the concept of polytheism, which is the belief in many gods. It was from the story of this Pharaoh Akhenaten, they copied to write their story of Moses. Go and research it. It was also from the story of Osiris and Seth in Egyptian spirituality and mythology they copied to write their story of Cain and Abel. It was also from the story of an Egyptian god named Khnum, who was seen on Egyptian walls, making man and his spirit through his potter out of clay, that they copied to write their story of the creation of Adam in their book of Genesis. This is the original history of the Israelites that the university professors are forbidden from teaching. You are welcome to my school of learning. I am Ebenezer Heru. Here, I will always teach you our forbidden, buried history. There are books that will help you to read more on this and acquire lots of knowledge about our Black history, the African origin of civilization, the destruction of Black civilization, the African origin of electromagnetism, particularly electricity, stolen legacy, Black women in antiquity, they came before Columbus, the untold history of the Black race and the fall of African civilization, and many more that will open your eyes to understand the true history of the African people. To buy these books, send a message to my DM today for you to secure and purchase your own copy. They are all in PDF soft copy. I say,